So Tyler Stevens says that he's going to win Type 2. So why do you feel so confident?
I will show you why. Because I got second the year before, and I misplayed, and I was playing a complex deck. This year I got something really good, confident, played a lot of games with it. I feel like any top player going into a category should feel like they're going to win that category.
That's fair. Now, I talked to Jeremy Chambers a few minutes ago, and he said his deck is probably not going to win. So do you think you've gotten into his head?
Yeah, Jeremy and I played. I whooped up on him, and then I know what he's playing and told him what he's playing, and then said, if you play that, I'm going to beat you. So I'm living rent-free right now.
Okay. Now, you've seen Jay as tournament host for the morning. How well do you think Nationals is going to be ran this year?
I've seen more of Ron.
So here's tournament host, Mr. Jay Chambers. How you liking Nationals so far?
He ain't winning nothing this year. He ain't winning nothing.
Well, that's every year.
Hey, everyone. How you doing? This is live at Nationals 2024. What did you ask me?
I don't remember. We'll get you later.
Alrighty, Redemption players, this is John Early making a special boom guest appearance on the Threshing Floor podcast. We're live here at Nationals. Well, not really live. I'm live, but this is going to be come out like, I don't know, 6 months later maybe, by the time Hendricks gets around to it. But, I don't know if you heard that, but John was just very insulting to one of his fellow podcasters out there. Trying. It's hard, man. Trust me, I know. I failed 2 of them. It's hard. But I'm here with Mr. Brian Booster Jones. Brian, tell the folks out there how you did today.
Back to back, Booster champ, baby.
But there's a wrinkle here because, see, the thing is, he didn't quite do good enough, did you, Brian?
Good enough to get the win.
A shared win, friends. And here's the thing. Rob Anderson made an executive decision. What was that decision, Mr. Brian?
That Jacob Arrowwood would get the plaque.
Ooh, Jacob Arrowwood going home with the plaque. They tied. Jacob actually beat him straight up during the Swiss rounds, but Brian was able to manipulate things back in his favor with the head-to-head. They tied on Lost Souls. So, Brian, tell me, of your 18,000 titles, where does this one rank for you?
Probably last because I tied.
Last because he tied. Tell me about RNRS. How'd that work out for you this year?
Worked out great. Came first. I didn't finish with a perfect season because I tied, like John just stated, unfortunately.
Brian, how's the atmosphere at this tournament going on in general? What's your favorite part of day one so far?
Favorite part about day one has just been seeing everybody again. It's been great to catch up and see how people are.
Fantastic, Brian. Thank you so much for taking time. This was John Early popping on special for the Threshing Floor. My buddy John Hendricks made the mistake of putting the microphone in my care and possession, so watch out.
So we're here with Joe Schaefer, who drafted the most deplorable team last night in the fantasy draft, but somehow did pretty well today. So we'll add up the numbers later, but how are you feeling about your team after today?
I'm just tired.
He's tired. That's all you're going to give me? You're tired? You did pretty well yourself.
I mean,
are you regretting not drafting yourself?
I feel like if I played more days, maybe, but I feel like I'm just tired.
Okay, so he's just tired.
I'm proud of Jacob Arrowwood.
He's proud of Jacob Arrowwood.
I'm disappointed that, Josh Potratz decided not to play today. I'm proud of
that was a disappointing measure for all of us. But I'm
of
glad you
judgment
drafted him knowing that he wasn't playing, me knowing that he wasn't playing.
Well, I did get picked up at the gas station to join last second, so.
Yeah, you were just a homeless hobo looking for a draft.
And
we had one for you.
So we'll see how it goes. It's fun.
All right.
Let's go on the record here.
All right, so we're here with Tim Estes, who is also known as Mr. Baboony Tim. Yep, there's the sound effects for Mr. Jake. But you've just played your first event at the 24 National Tournament. Mm-hmm. And you did pretty well, all things considered.
Yeah.
So how you feeling?
5-2 is like a pretty good record to be proud of. I'm excited. I was proud of my little deck. I didn't think it had it in it to get 5 wins, but it was the little deck that could today. Highlight for me was almost getting to that 6th win, and then the last turn of the game, getting Grapes of Wrath out of the game. That'll stick with me for a while. But I have a laptop open right here. I'm just talking with Jake. We're always thinking about our next move. The team's on Saturday.
Oh, you guys are playing teams.
Cooking.
Okay, so now you're definitely
We played teams once each.
okay. Okay, so so Jake's here as well. They're cooking up nativity teams, I'm sure.
Hey, you never know.
Maybe, but
Cannot confirm or deny any nativity themed teams decks.
okay, that's fair enough. I feel like
There's a chance we have full Genesis offenses both.
well, I know my way around some blue, so I know you're going to lose a game or two. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But so you got drafted last night, maybe in a little bit of a surprise. You got drafted ahead of both Allsteads. Now, one of those Allsteads won Type 2 today. The other one back in, behind you, I believe, in booster draft. So how are you feeling? Did you justify your pick being third overall?
Hey, where it comes to be justified is tomorrow and then Saturday. Today was like the day like we're getting our feet wet.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna try to make my coaches proud.
All right. Well, that's way to keep the team in mind.
Team Tyler.
Team Tyler.
Team Tyler.
All right. All right, so we're here with Ron Sias, host of Nationals, or co-host with Jay Chambers. Got 2 questions for you to start with.
You said 3.
I know, but this is a 2-parter.
Okay.
How have you enjoyed hosting Nationals? And then also, how have you done it putting up with Jay?
First part, I've enjoyed it. It's been a great experience. Second part, a lot of prayer.
Prayer, fasting?
Yes, a lot of prayer.
Okay, that's fair enough. So we came to your church here. We got to see it finally. Beautiful facility.
Thank you.
I hope we showed respect to it and all. But it's turned out to be a pretty good venue for Nationals. So you had, I guess, an idea. Maybe Jay kind of helped talk you into it or whatever way back when. So you had an idea, you put a bid in, and now Nationals is here. What does it feel like to have it actually happening and now and unfolding?
I would say a definite answer to prayer. I mean, I've wanted to host Nationals in Michigan since my first National. I wouldn't say it's a bucket list item for me, but either way, I can cross it off now. Jay moving up here helped. I mean, usually the only players in Michigan was me and who was sitting across the table from me, the guy I'm playing. I had a few play groups, but I've always wondered what it'd be like after experiencing Nationals to be able to host and to bring that same great group of guys to my church. And after 27 years, it finally happened.
Finally happened. But it is a relief to have it actually unfolding, and it's here now. All the planning you've done paying off, right?
Definitely.
Okay. Now let me ask you. We did pair up in Booster today. You played me. I played you one other time, and I did you pretty wrong, and I felt kind of bad today. What happened in that game?
I didn't draw the right cards. It's like any card game.
Did you draft the right cards?
I did, I think. I had a pretty good balance, but they certainly didn't show up.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. I'm sorry for beating you, but we're glad you're hosting Nationals, so thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
All right. We're here with Jaden, who pulled it out for Type 2. So I heard that you 7-0'd someone. Who was that?
The only person I 7-0 today was Mr. Jeremy Chambers.
Man, and I hate to bag on Jeremy. I heard that wasn't his only 7-0. He still settled up. I think he came in 3rd place.
Really, I just did it to make sure that Tyler knew he wasn't special.
Okay, you didn't want to let him have the limelight. Okay, so you finally got back on top in Type 2. It's been 2 years. Jeremy's won it 2 years in a row before now. Do you feel like you kind of proved a point by beating him that bad and then also taking 1st place?
I mean, in fairness, I didn't play last year, but the year before that, Jeremy had my goat, and I feel like I did get it back a little bit. I think Jeremy also was focused a little more on Type 1 this year, but we had some good matches throughout the season, and I feel good about being able to come out on top after all our back and forth this year.
Yeah. So what kind of deck did you play? And that, obviously, keep in mind that most people are going to have a Type 1 background, so just don't go too deep on us. But what did you play?
So I played an Angels and Thieves deck with Nazareth. It's kind of the lockdown idea, and Thieves kind of capitalizing on taking resources from your opponent, Nazareth slowing them down so that they can't recoup, and the Angels just kind of punching through, and Resurrection Revealer is a really good card. And in Type 2, they're generic, so you can have multiple on the board at a time. Just makes it really hard to work around.
And they grant each other's if you control another.
They
Busted.
each other. And also they can help set up your Nazareth really early. So that was the deck that I had played at Kentucky State. I did fairly well with that there. And then I took it to a few other tournaments this year to kind of refine it, and got to a version that I think I like a lot that I played here. I think even today there were some things that I was like, maybe I should change, or there are a few changes that could still be made. So I don't know. We got Israel's Inheritance to play with now, so I'm not thinking about it too much.
You're thinking about Purple Warriors, aren't you?
I mean, a little bit.
What about Edomites?
I honestly haven't opened up any cards yet. I watched Mitch open up a box. He opened one up on the stream kind of during our lunch break. So that was pretty exciting. But I still got to look through the cards and see what we got. But I am looking forward to Edomites, seeing what they got, for sure.
Yeah.
Getting some other Crimson stuff other than Thieves.
Yeah, I think Blue and Crimson with Edomites, that's enticing for me.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, honestly, I haven't read the other two Ultra Rares, but Promised Land looks really fun, right? Or like just right out looking at it, like this to take a card. It's like, this maybe this Joshua offense will complement a Thieves defense, and we'll try to make something fun work with those. So.
How quickly did you think about Lost Child Found when you saw that fortress?
It was pretty quick. Yep.
Okay. The connection was there.
I was trying to think of like what Joshua heroes are. Have some white. You had like the Rahab and from Cloud of Witnesses, and a few others maybe. So we're gonna try to figure something out with that. See if that's worthwhile.
I'm sure we'll see it on the channel soon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we'll be getting that. I mean, I might wait until we get the Lackey update for that, but we'll see how long that takes.
Sweet. So, one other thing. I know you got to walk up there. You got to get your plaque. Everybody clapped. They saw. All that is secondary, right, to the fact that you supported Team Hendricks in the fantasy. We're going to call it the league now. We've been referring to it as a fantasy draft, but the draft portion is over. Now we're into what would be just the league.
Yep.
And so I haven't verified, but Justin Alstead, your brother, you know him better than I do. I don't know if you can trust his math, but if we do trust his math, said we're sitting at 73 points. I don't know what anyone else is sitting at, but you brought us, what was it, 15?
13.
13, okay. So 13 points. Yeah. So you did 13. We had some other contributions, but how do you feel knowing that you are helping lead the charge for the first ever winning team for the Redemption Fantasy? Whatever we're going to call it.
The fantasy draft, or yeah. It was. I'm glad to do my part. I heard that there were people in Booster who didn't win but still scored more points than me. So I'll try to do better next year. Maybe we'll play Booster and try to do better for my team.
Yeah, maybe. But hey, as long as we get contribution throughout the entire setup, we're better than Jake at least, because he picked Chris Bashman, who I'm looking at Chris right now. He's sorting new cards, and he has no care in the world because he is not playing anything.
Yeah, he's. I think he did not contribute today for the points. And
he contributed to our team, though.
Well, that's true, yeah. He kind of took away, but that's good.
And, I mean, we got to add up and see. I think Tyler might be a pretty strong. He had Kai Murphy, and he was right there at the end, but...
That's true, yeah. I was hearing that Team Tyler was doing well in Booster Draft, but I was hearing that from Tyler, so... I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt, I guess.
Yeah, salt and pepper. Who knows? All right. So we're here with Chris Fashman, who took a light flight.
Had the stroke like me.
who took a late flight to make it to nationals after it looked like you might not be able to make it because of a recent gym injury. And that's we're not gonna poke fun about it, but now you're walking around nationals and you got your cane. You got a little bit of a pimp walk. So how are you holding up?
I'm holding up all right. I need to sit down more often, but I will be fine. We'll make it. It's just a nerve issue, which is odd, but manageable. So I'm blessed that it's not worse than it is, because I'm an idiot. It's ultimately.
I won't judge you. I'm not here to judge. We got people that do that each day, not me.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
one of those.
Yeah.
So
I'll judge myself. There you go.
So you were able to walk around and judge some today. So this is the first year at Nationals with having roots in the packs for booster draft, and that's what we did today. We had type 2 and booster, and you got to see some of the decks. Like, I was really excited about the deck that I pulled. I put together a really good deck. I thought it was one of the best decks, if not the best deck I've ever drafted. But as I played other people, I noticed they had really good decks too, and it just seems like the quality of decks and the consistency and things has increased with the card pool that is available for booster draft. And you guys did a good spread with having the 2 LOC, 2 GOC, and 2 Rebellion packs, because there's a lot of common brigades in those. But I think Roots really takes it over the top. So what was it like looking at just the decks and the interactions that you were seeing from the cards?
I mean, there's definitely a lot more consistency too. It's really funny because somebody asked me at the beginning, before they even got it started, is it bad advice to suggest that somebody draft only Roots? And really the quality of those cards a lot of times is good enough that you could simply draft a bunch of Roots cards and do really well. So I definitely think it ups the game. It makes all of the decks better ultimately, but it also helps the people who are really good at drafting and know what they're doing and able to draft well to rise to the top too. So that's pretty cool.
I mean, that's fair, because we know Booster Jones knows how to draft.
Right.
And he was at that top table for a while, got knocked down after a loss, and then ended up right back playing for, the title. And he didn't go home with the plaque. Obviously, Rob was like, nah, dog, you got too many.
Yeah.
But we got to see him rise to the top. And then we got to see some players that we know are good players. Like Kai Murphy is a good player. Jacob Arrowwood is a good player. Right. And they were able to build decks out of this pool of cards and make it all the way up to place in the top 3 there. So it's nice to see that. And I feel like all the games were competitive, at least through maybe not, the very bottom tables or whatever, because you saw some disparity, and this deck's, not very good because I didn't draft enough defense, or there was holes in it, but decks that didn't have those big holes seemed like they were pretty balanced across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that just comes back to the drafting experience, knowing what you're doing, knowing what you're drafting. Sometimes people like to be on brigade a lot more, and sometimes they skip really good cards that will help their deck in the long run to be on brigade. That's kind of what we saw with some of the people, even passing cards to like Brian. We were watching him a little bit just to see how he drafts and get an idea of what that looks like sometimes. And see
if he's cheating.
Yeah, absolutely, because he's a big fat cheater. Obviously, you can't have these type 1 decks in booster draft like he does all the time. But and it's one of those things where you see cards get passed and you go, why did you pass that? And it's because, well, I don't have that brigade or something. So the quality of the cards overall is so good now that maybe you don't have to worry about so much of being on brigade, and you can do a little bit more of the mix and match and the splashiness in booster draft and still have a really good deck too. And what's interesting with the Roots, I certainly think that you could almost build a booster draft deck now that's as good as some of the average type 1 decks just from a few years ago too, just because of the quality of cards going up overall as a whole, not necessarily the what's it called, power creep or things like that necessarily. It's just the overall, every card you draft does something of value for the most part.
Yep, that's definitely kind of in line with the same thing of type 1 decks over. If you look at a trend, let's just say 4 or 5 years ago to now, the average player has a quality deck that could win any given matchup. And it used to be that you saw a huge gap between the top end players, then there was a big gap, and then you had the just average players, and now it's like everybody's kind of sandwiched closer to the middle, to where like anybody can beat anybody on any given day with the quality of decks. Just like I know we talk sometimes GOC gets a bad rap, but you can build a GOC deck and out of that one set be able to compete across several different archetype matchups when it comes to what decks you might face in a tournament. And I think doing that for the average player and having them have access to that just raises the level of the competition across the board.
Yeah, it does, but at the same time, it's because all of the decks are so good too, and in like a type 1 situation, you get into that situation where you feel like you've got a really, really good deck, and then you still place in maybe the bottom half or something with a really, really good deck, because like you said, the overall quality has gone up. So that can be a frustration too, though. So it's interesting to think about that, the concept that Brian and Mark Underwood and I have had over the years with those level decks and things like that, and even the contender deck level and things like that, the quality of those have increased, or the quality of the average deck has increased so much that those are almost not good enough anymore, and don't give a true good value of what the cards actually do, and what's good and bad anymore, because everything's so good, which makes it interesting. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? It makes you feel like you're more competitive, but at the same time, when everybody's more competitive just by the cards themselves, it makes it harder for you to get to the rise to the top, a little bit, I guess.
That's fair. Now, I do know that as much as we're excited about, the first day of Nationals here and everything that transpired, there is one thing that's going on kind of. It's a side event. It's this Redemption Fantasy League. And you weren't there when we drafted, but you were drafted, and you didn't play today, so I doubt you're playing any other day. So do you feel like you let Jake down a little bit after he picked you, or is it his fault for picking you?
Now, my understanding is you told him I was playing Booster.
Because you told me that if you played anything, it would be Booster.
Okay.
And I just mentioned he was grasping for straws, and I was like, Chris, I might have said it like it was a certainty. I don't want to say, but I did not do it to set him up.
Yeah.
I was just naming off people that I knew were playing categories without saying anybody that I was planning on picking, because I did my research.
Right.
So I did not intentionally mislead him if that's what happened. But he also drafted Jay Chambers, who's, hit or miss, because he's only playing the one category.
Yeah.
I kind of feel bad for his team. We've got 73 points on Team Hendricks at the end of day one, according to Justin Alstead's math. So I don't know where Jake's at, but I feel like I feel like you might owe him a hug or something. He's emotionally distraught.
To be fair, anybody that drafts somebody that has mostly been a full-time judge for the last few years is going based on name recognition, not based on record. So there's a little bit of both, maybe. So there is a possibility that I still play sealed, but that's not it. He should just go ahead and drop me. Let's just go ahead and put it that way.
He can't drop you. He's got to trade you.
Oh, no.
But nobody's going to trade for you.
I thought we had waivers or something.
No.
You get rid of people.
We're thinking about adding that for next year. We're going to test trades out this year.
So he can trade me and somebody else for one other player, and then they could drop me. Is that how that works?
No, they can't drop you. They just get stuck with you. But he could potentially. I don't know how he could do it.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him.
Yeah. Never draft somebody who's content with being a full-time judge. So that knocks a few people out. So.